I really want a marmalade sandwich. I mean, wait a minute. There's no marmalade sandwich here. I mean, yeah, maybe I could get one, from Goldilocks and the Three Bears Crime Family from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Wait a minute. That's a different movie, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I mean, I can't get a marmalade sandwich here. Wait a minute. I am talking about marmalade. And yes, yeah. Paddington loves marmalade as well. So yeah. And speaking of Paddington, yes, I did re-review the sequel last year, Paddington 2, on Thursday, July 28th of 2022, which I did re-review that movie last year before I went to Cedar Point. So yeah. And also, I am going to be doing my movie review on the first movie right now. So yeah. So today, I am going to be reviewing Paddington. So yeah. So before I go right over here, I'm going to say this. Cue the intro. Okay, guys, this is it. I cannot believe I reviewed 3 movies in 1 week, actually, which I already did my movie review on Barbie, and I already did my re-review on Enchanted, and now I am going to be re-reviewing this movie right now. So yeah. So today, guys, I am going to be reviewing this movie right now, today. So yeah. So without further ado, let's review this movie right now, actually. So yeah. Hey guys, this is Evan's Disney's Film Corner 2023 here, and today, guess what, guys? And today, I am going to be doing my movie review on Paddington. Came in the year of 2014. So yeah, even though this movie actually came out in 2015 in my area, actually. So yeah. I am going to read this plot on the internet right now. So yeah. So basically what the plot's about, after a deadly earthquake destroys his home in Peruvian rainforest, a young bear makes his way to England in research of a new home. The bear, dubbed Paddington, for the London train station, and finds shelter with the family of Henry and Mary Brown. Even though Paddington is amazed at the urban legend soon endears him into the Browns. Someone else has as her eye on him. Texter Miss Millicent Clyde has designs on the rare bear and his hide. So yeah. So that's basically what the plot's about this movie. So yeah, so I did remember that this movie actually did came out in the UK on November 28th of 2014, and it actually did came out in my area on January 16th of 2015, actually, which yeah. Even though it was first announced, even though the movie was first announced in September 2007 with David Harridan and Sorma McCall writing the screenplay, and no further developments were made until September of 2013, and while filming began, Harriman announced the casting of Colin Farrell as Paddington, but even though it did get even though Colin Farrell, fun fact, Colin Farrell was originally going to voice Paddington, but I bet the directors weren't satisfied with I bet Paul King, who also directed this movie, wasn't satisfied with his voice, so he did get replaced by Ben Shaw, who was also in Mary Poppins Returns as well. Which honestly, let's get to his voice acting later. Which honestly, yeah, and honestly, even though this movie is also 95 minutes long, and also, yeah, and also, so yeah, guys, so what do I think of this movie? I have to say, this is definitely one of the best, children's movies based on live action animation hybrids based on a children's book, actually, which honestly, even though, Project Photography actually began in September of 2013, and it wrapped in in June of 2014, and yes, Colin Farrell was originally going to voice Paddington, but he dropped out in post production, and he got replaced by Ben Schwartz. Which honestly, even though when it was released in the UK on November 28th of 2014, it was critically acclaimed. Like, Ben Schwartz's performance was also highly praised, and also it was very faithful to the books, actually, which honestly, yeah. And this movie was pretty much like a love letter to the Paddington books, actually, and it was very faithful, actually. And honestly, yeah, even though this movie actually got a sequel, which honestly, even though Paddington actually got a sequel, which honestly, yeah, which was even better than the first movie, even though I already reviewed it back in I already reviewed the sequel to Paddington last year. You can actually check that out on my channel, actually. Which yeah, it was yeah, so happy first anniversary to my re-review on Paddington 2, which I already re-reviewed. Back in back last year, back on July 28th of last year in 2022. And now I am reviewing the first movie on July 28th of 2023 of this year as well, which is also really exciting. So yeah. And also let's talk about the cast of this movie, which honestly has a really great cast in this movie. Like, Ben Schwartz Paddington was fantastic in this movie, which, yeah, even though he was originally going to be even though Paddington was originally going to be voiced by Colin Farrell, but he got replaced by Ben Schwartz in post production. Which honestly, I think Ben Schwartz fits Paddington better than Colin Farrell, because I think Ben Schwartz's voice is fantastic in this movie, which honestly, he's fantastic in this movie. Even the CGI on Paddington is fantastic. Yeah, as well. And also, yeah. And even Hugh Billinville as Henry Brown was fantastic in this movie, even though he was in Downton Abbey as well. And even Sally Hawkins as Mary Brown was also fantastic in this movie as well. And yes, this movie, this is she is in Paul King movie, actually, which yeah. And also, I forgot to mention that this movie is actually directed by Paul King, who who also directed other films. Like, he directed Bunny and the Bull, and he's directing Wonka this year, actually, which comes out on December 15th of this year, actually, in 2023. And also, yeah, which honestly, yeah, and even Sally Hawkins in this movie was fantastic. Like, even though, yes, Sally Hawkins is actually going to be in Sally Hawkins is also going to be in Wonka as well later this year, actually, which comes out on December 15th of this year as well. So yeah. And also and even Nicole Kidman as McKellen and Clyde was also fantastic in this movie. Yeah, and also, yeah. And even Julia Walters as Miss Bird was also fantastic. And even the rest of the actors of this movie were also fantastic in this movie as well. So yeah, and also, yeah. And I really appreciated that this movie was actually faithful to the Paddington books, actually, which mostly is really, and it's also faithful as well. Yeah, this movie is also really faithful. This is actually a faithful adaptation of Paddington, and also, yeah. And also this movie is also the production companies that made this movie are Studio Channel and also Heyday Films, actually, which honestly, yeah. Even though Warner Bros. Did distribute the Paddington in the U.S. In 2018 on yeah, even though Paddington 2 actually came out in the U.S. in my area on January 12th of 2018, and yeah, and Warner Bros. Did distribute that movie, and also yeah. And now let's talk about the music and the score of this movie, which is actually composed by Nick Ursa, which, sorry I mispronounced his last name, but it's okay. But honestly, his score of this movie is definitely fantastic. I mean, it still holds up to this day, 9 years later. And also, yeah, it still is fantastic. I mean, yeah. I mean, that his music in this movie is definitely fantastic. And yeah, it's definitely really great in this movie. And also, yeah, it's really fantastic. And yeah, I mean, enough said about his music in this movie. So yeah, and also, yeah. And now let's talk about the production design and the visual effects of this movie, which honestly, the production design and the visual effects of this movie is definitely fantastic. I mean, it still holds up to this day, 9 years later. I mean, yeah, it still is fantastic. I mean, yeah. I did remember I actually saw this movie in theaters with my mom, actually. It was a really snowy day, actually. So yeah, even though I was going we were my mom was going I was going to see the SpongeBob movie SpongeBob Water, but my mother suggested to see Paddington, and I was okay with it. So yeah. And honestly, I had so much fun seeing this movie in theaters, actually. And yeah, even though I saw this movie in theaters on 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 Saturday, February 14th of 2015, and I had a blast seeing it in theaters. And also yeah, and yeah, and yeah, and I still love this movie to this day, even though I think the sequel was honestly even better. Definitely my favorite Paddington movie is definitely Paddington 2, which honestly, yeah. And also yeah. And let's go back onto the production design and the visual effects of this movie, which honestly, they still look fantastic. And even the look on Paddington, even the look of Paddington himself is definitely fantastic. I mean, yeah. And also, yeah. And also, yeah. And also, yeah. And I have nothing else to say. Yeah, and even the production design of this movie is definitely fantastic. And also, yeah. And also, yeah. So, yeah, guys. Yeah. Yeah, the production design is fantastic. I mean, I love the look of London in this movie. It's definitely fantastic. I mean, yeah. So, yeah, guys. So, I have nothing else to say about this movie. So, yeah. So, if you haven't seen Paddington, where have you been? I highly recommend it. So, yeah. So, I'm going to give Paddington a 10 out of 10 spectacular. So, yeah, guys. What do you think of my movie review on Paddington? So, yeah. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe my channel, and make sure to like this video. So, yeah. So, yes, my July reviews of this year in 2023 are officially wrapped. They're over. And now let's move on to the next month, which will be August. So, yeah. Which, stay tuned for my August reviews. My first one will be, so stay tuned for my first August review of 2023 with the Peanuts movie, which I am going to be reviewing on Friday, August 4th of this year. So stay tuned for that. So yeah. So I make this wish, doing something more for us than this. Who's your favorite fearless hero? We don't talk about Bruno, no, no, no. We don't talk about Bruno. See the light where the sky meets the sea. It calls me, and no one knows before it goes. If the wind in my sail on the sea stays behind me, one day I'll know how far I'll go. Oh, remember me, though I have to travel far, and bye.